Well, so we are ready now to give you the morning dose of the news, and we just give you the headlines for the morning. And the committee tax to review utility tariffs hikes says reduction is not an option. So far, that's the first headline we have for you. And coalition of concerned teachers strike over unpaid allowances, and we'll be looking at that very story. And government acts to increase meal allowance of lepers.
Moving straight on to the first story now, the technical committee set up to consider, among other things, a possible review of the recent utility tariff hikes has presented its report to government. Though it's made a number of recommendations, including privatization of the energy sector and lessening the burden on industry, it wasn't emphatic on whether the electricity tariff should be reduced. The chief of staff who received the report said government would look at the recommendations.
The chairman of the committee gave a range of scenarios government could consider in a possible price review and its implications.
There is a big gap between the available power, given the plants in existence, the available power, and what the nation needs to drive this economy. There's a big gap. And moreover, the gap has been widening. And if we don't tackle it, then load shedding and so on would not be avoidable. So we need to catch up with the investment in power production if we're going to be able to drive this economy.
Dr. Joe Abbey acknowledged electricity consumers would have to pay a whole lot more if tariffs are to reflect what the utilities require to generate the power the country needs.
Any tariff you name, which will not generate enough revenue to meet 2.267, is for us ruled out. Whatever tariff you set, the implication should be it is going to generate enough revenue for us to pay for the power we are buying to use and for the transmission of same power to us. Depending on accepting what the PURC had accepted for ECG.
On privatizing energy generation, Dr. Joe Abbey said investors' confidence can be built when both private and public energy generation entities are monetarily treated the same and revenue generation in the sector is lucrative enough. He was emphatic about application of the automatic tariff adjustment formula, with a caution to government not to renege on this during elections, as that may adversely affect the economy, investor confidence and borrowing potentials.
If we were on the ATAF, where would we be? And any change from the previous level must be adjusted for, so that the gap doesn't widen. Then, because we have said that for the history of how election years sometimes have coincided with other happenings, leading to the suspension of the ATAF, we want to shield the ATAF from election year 2016. So we decided that you should have read the ATAF latest end of 2014, end of next year.
In view of the cross-subsidization, he urged that as industry's burden is reduced, they must be taxed to increase the rate of employment. Chief of Staff Prosper Bani expressed government appreciation for their work. The committee was a byproduct of a stakeholder meeting following a rejection of the recent tariff increment by the Labour Front. Gifty Andopia, Joy News, Flagstaff House.
Well, we look at other social services, and Reverend Father Andrew Campbell, chairman of the Lepers Aid Committee, on Tuesday appealed to government to increase the daily meal allowance of lepers from 80 pesos to a more substantial figure. He said the current meal allowance is not helping in sustaining the aged in acquiring the necessary balanced diet required for a healthy living. He noted that since the beginning of the year, it was just last week that the inmates of both the Weija and Whole Presbyterium received their first 4-month monthly allowances meant for their daily upkeep. Reverend Father Andrew Campbell also called on government to help write off the 6,000 Ghana cedi electricity bill owed by the whole Presbyterium, as the ECG has threatened to cut off supply.
The Coalition of Concerned Teachers has begun a nationwide strike starting 24th of October to impress on government to resolve their members' grievances relating to their allowances. Mohammed Muruddin reports.
Communications Director of the coalition, King Audu Ali, says the president has not been fair to the group, having assured them he will get their issues addressed. Key amongst their claims is government's failure to pay their capitation grant, 2 years incremental credit arrears and outstanding car maintenance allowance. King Audu Ali adds that letters written to the concerned bodies have yielded no results, therefore the decision to lay down their tools. He said their members, about 50,000 of them, have been asked to withdraw their services until further notice, insisting they would not return to the classroom until government fulfill its promise. When Joy News visited the Old Tafo Methodist Primary School, for instance, members of the Coalition of Concerned Teachers say the leadership of the group has taken the right direction in asking them to embark on the strike. They say letters have been dispatched to them and they would comply, since strike is the only language in the country every government understands.
What we are pleading the government is to at least agree with our grievances, help us all what we need, so that it can make us also to teach and teach effectively, so that we can also be catered well as other people are also benefiting. I think that would be the right direction, because we all in Ghana nowadays everything is strike. So I think maybe if you go on strike, the government will at least take our grievances and maybe help us.
Unfortunately for me, the radio I listened to didn't mention anything about it. So I came to school. And when I came, some of my colleagues were saying it was on radio that the strike is starting today. And since I'm already here, I have to do something. So from tomorrow going, I won't come.
Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin's report.
Academics have blamed the lack of an African perspective to the continent's history and the overemphasis on the fight against colonialism by institutions such as the African Union for the misplaced identity of the African. Opening the International Conference on African Studies, President John Mahama said the onus now lies on the African to tell their own story irrespective of their efforts of modern-day systems on the indigenous African culture.
The conference is part of the 50th anniversary celebration of the University of Ghana's Institute of African Studies. Its director, Professor Akosua Adumakuampofo, criticized the physical and diplomatic barriers which continue to separate countries on the continent and challenged African academicians to campaign against it.
A key activity for this conference is the formation of our own association. As up until this morning, we were battling to get a visa for a colleague from another continental African country. My own theory is that we are retaliating for difficulties we encounter with their own mission in this country. But I almost wept. The colleague is the interim chair of this association that we hope to establish here in the next few days. This is unacceptable in 2013. But it is not about visas. The socio-political and economic issues that confront us is the subtext. If our governments cannot find a way to fix this, if the AU cannot, let us as scholars and advocates of Africa find a way to do so.
All speakers at the ceremony, including Vice-Chancellor Professor Ernest Aite, United Nations Executive UN Economic Commission for Africa, Dr. Charles Lopez, re-emphasized the need for a focus on language and an indigenous African lifestyle.
Hide nothing from the masses of our people. Tell no lies. Expose lies whenever they are told. Mask no difficulties, mistakes, failures. Claim no easy victories.
President John Mahama, an alumnus of the Institute, implored the conference to guide future discussions about the continent.
Africa actually enriches Europe, but Africa is made to believe that it needs Europe to rescue it from poverty. Quotations closed. My brothers and sisters, the work set out at the first Congress of Africanists was to reverse the belief that Africa needed Europe to rescue it. What next? I'm sure that at the close of this conference, the answers to this question will be many. And those answers are needed more than ever before as we claim our space once again on that world stage. The challenge we face is to make our stories matter. It is a challenge that calls for the courage to dream and the courage to believe and to dare.
He said government will redeem its pledges to the University of Ghana. The Institute of African Studies commenced in 1963 as a semi-autonomous institute conducting research and teaching about the cultural heritage of Africa. This year's conference, under the theme Revisiting the First International Congress of Africanists in a Globalized World, seeks to answer one of Kwame Nkrumah's rhetorical questions about the extent to which universities identify with the aspirations of Ghana and Africa. For Joy News, Gifty Andoapia, University of Ghana, Legon.
Another story was captured on Thursday afternoon, just within the same period, some meters away from the University of Ghana. The Ghana National Fire Service personnel put out fire that had gutted parts of the old Fadama slum Thursday afternoon, and hundreds of people had been rendered homeless after the fire gutted parts of the old Fadama slum. Although the cause of the fire was yet to be established, some of the victims said the flames ravaged nearly 700 shacks, which according to them house a number of families. According to these families, they were at work in the nearby market scavenging for scrap metals when the rage started. Speaking on Eyewitness News, Billy Anaglati, Deputy PRO of the Ghana National Fire Service, revealed that although accessibility was a problem, they were able to put out the fire. He revealed that the extent of damage done was really high because of the materials that were used to construct the structures used as homes by the slum dwellers. Marian Toure spoke to one of the victims.
My school uniforms and my bags, school bags, all has been. I've not seen anything to pick.
So do you have anywhere to sleep tonight?
Yeah, no, I don't have any place now. I just want to go to sleep with my brother. She's living at this place, so I just want to go and sleep with her.
But do you live here alone or you live with family?
With my family, my parents.
I say, no, you go or the kind of chomo from no bizu for Brigadia, I go was you blue face to yellow face. I know entari. Say, won't you blue face to yellow face the Italia? Ebeba idea. Ja. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Send me pacho. I saw Munkachi pen for say, Mumma, Diano, Adiano, Anu, Obia, Bibia, eh? Omo de Omo, Jumano, Nay, me to be mere Adika, no one, and no one, ham.
About money, you who yet, and Toye. Debia Mubatu, a China Mubatu, and Yasone Ghana for. I do vote. No more Bejina said, you're voting by. I can move my sea blocker. I can also inquire there. Atoe, Sikaka Benya says to a bed. Your bed did you? No, Musa, a move to no cut loud. Nay, abo, a China Nasi, Adichini, it's a buyer Panucho, oh money and Hunto and Ede, or Biabomba that come my concert. Yes, he block Kaka, Baby to make a Canada. No, I see block, not enjoy the Abba.
Just a general reaction of what you've seen so far.
So, very shocking. Very shocking. We sympathize with all the victims. We have been here to assess the security situation, and we will ensure that our men will be on the ground so that they will be safe throughout the period. They ensure that lives and property were protected, and they will continue to maintain security here until things are stabilized.
Okay, so look at another headlines. Committee tax to review utility tariff hikes says reduction is not an option.
Coalition of concerned teachers strike over unpaid allowances.
And government acts to increase meal allowance of LEPES.
Please do get interactive. We have the social network pages. Join News on TV, of course, is a page on Facebook. And also the Shoppo 1760. As she's already mentioned, all networks, please get interactive.
Okay, do stay on. We'll be right back.
By the kind courtesy of Tigo Smile, you've got Tigo. We are talking sports this morning on the AM show. My name is Rashida Baba Kadiri. Straight away, I'm sure within this week you've been hearing rumors across a lot of media platforms about the fact that the Ghana Football Association is in talks with a certain top mola who is supposed to be a technical director, or who is being courted so that he becomes a technical director to the Black Stars, and so he becomes Kwesi Appiah, the head coach of the Black Stars, boss. But, well, there are several reasons why you would want to say yes and agree to the GFA's decision, and there are several reasons why others would also say no and say, look, leave Kwesi Appiah alone, he can do his own work. Now, one sports journalist, the editor of FootyGhana.com, he has been speaking about the reasons why he thinks that Kwesi Appiah should be left alone, and the reason for which he thinks that the Black Stars at this particular moment do not need a technical director ahead of the Brazil 2014 World Cup.
He's done more than enough, and I don't think that it is necessary to bring in a technical director. I'm not sure what informed the decision to get third-party individuals to speak to Klaus Toppmöller in the first place, and that's what we uncovered. I mean, if the GFA have come out to deny it, I think it's great news. It means they are not going to do it, and if they're not going to do it, it means Kwesi Appiah will be allowed to progress as he has done. The Kwesi Appiah that was employed in April 2012 is not the same Kwesi Appiah today. This is a man that has grown into the job. He has progressed. He's shown as a fast learner, made mistakes in South Africa during the Cup of Nations. He has learned from them, made mistakes when we lost 0-1 to Zambia. I mean, apart from the altitude problems the boys suffered, he opened up and lost the match. But he's played compact football since then and has resulted in 2 away victories against Sudan and Lesotho. He has brought a level of competitiveness to the squad we have not seen under most coaches who tend to over-rely on players. He has not over-relied on anybody. He has shown excellent man management skills, and it has resulted in a return to the national team of the likes of Asamoah Gyan, first of all, who had gone out of the team. He's come back and he's flourishing. He's using him behind the main striker instead of being the main striker himself. And the end result is that Asamoah Gyan has scored 6 times in the qualifying series. He's unearthed Abdul Majid Waris, who scored 3 times himself, and is forming a lethal partnership with Asamoah Gyan, which is absolutely brilliant. He has deepened the depth of the squad, so much so that with the return of Sule Muntari, Michael Essien, and the rest of them, there is real competition for places, not in the starting 11 mind, but in the squad itself.
And the reasons could go on and on and on and on. But we'll delve deep into this matter and bring you all you need to know about it, if indeed the Ghana Football Association would be employing a technical director for the Black Stars as they get ready for the Brazil 2014 World Cup. Away from that, let's focus on the Ghana Premier League, which enters week 9 this weekend. There will be fixtures across all the league centers in the country. Let's check out who and who will be doing battle against each other. Now we have Amidas Professionals hosting Ebusua Dwarfs at the Tema Park. Bechim United would welcome Hazakas. Inter Allies travel to the Golden City Park in Brekum to play Brekum Chelsea. Heart of Lions will host Kumasi Asante Kotoko. That will certainly be a very big match to expect. And Liberty Professionals, they would host Edubiase FC at the Accra Sports Stadium. Ash Gold welcome Heart to Folk to the Wasi Lenkle Stadium. King Faisal will do battle against Adriana Stars at the Kumasi Babayara Stadium. Mediama SC, they host Wa All Stars at the Takwa Enabotso Park. Away from that, let's check out the fixtures for the English Premier League coming up this weekend, and I'll tell you which match will be showing on the Joy Sports on Multi TV. We have Crystal Palace up against Arsenal. There's also Aston Villa up against Everton. Liverpool are hosting West Bromwich Albion at the Anfield. Manchester United will host Stoke City at the Old Trafford, and this is the match that will be live on the Joy Sports channel on your Multi TV. So you should make a date with that's the crew at 2 p.m. Now, Norwich City, they take on Cardiff City. Fulham travel to Southampton. Newcastle travel to Sunderland. At the Stamford Bridge is that very big match for the weekend. Chelsea up against City. Jose Mourinho, let's see what he can do against City on Saturday. Swansea City up against West Ham United. Tottenham Hotspur versus Hull City. Those are the fixtures coming up in the English Premier League. Now, in the Spanish La Liga, that big match, what we call the El Clasico, is coming up tomorrow. Is between Barcelona and Real Madrid. I simply cannot wait for that. But away from that match, there are other matches that would also be taking place. Here are the fixtures. Rayo Vallecano up against Real Valladolid. There's Malaga up against Celta Vigo. Barcelona, like I said, they will be hosting Real Madrid at the Camp Nou. Certainly the big match for the weekend. Elche up against Granada. Levante up against Espanyol. Sevilla at home to Osasuna. Villarreal are also at home to Valencia. Almeria, they will travel to Real Sociedad. We have Real Betis traveling to Atletico Madrid. Athletic Bilbao also traveling to Getafe. And then finally, the German Bundesliga weekend fixtures. Let's see who plays who in the German Bundesliga. There's VfB Stuttgart up against Nuremberg. Bayer Leverkusen up against FC Augsburg. Bayern München are at home to Hertha Berlin. Hannover 96, they host TSG Hoffenheim. Mainz are up against TSV Eintracht Braunschweig. Schalke 04 are at home to Borussia Dortmund. Werder Bremen travel to VfL Wolfsburg. Hamburg SV also travel to SC Freiburg. Borussia Mönchengladbach are at home to Eintracht Frankfurt. That'll do it for sports this morning, but remember there will be more sports. There will be that launch of the World Cup 2014 Trophy Tour this morning. There will be news on that in midday. My name is Rashida Baba Kadiri. Tigo has made it possible for us to talk sports on the AM show. And